All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking real music in real time for a few real people just like you, just like me. So, yeah, it's a little surreal. Ted Nugent yesterday. Holy crap, Batman. What was that, right? Me and Ted Nugent? No way. Some people were asking later on, so how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Um, their people reached out to me and I said, duh, sure, I'd like to talk to Ted Nugent. Apparently, he had seen a couple of videos I did defending him. Now, it's interesting that when people want to do an interview with you, it's because you believe in them. You like what they're doing. You like what they're saying. And for the most part, the rock media doesn't care. They don't like most of what Ted Nugent says, or they have to fact check Ted, or they have to call him on the carpet because he doesn't believe the same government propaganda that they all believe in. Oh, the CDC says, okay, great. Have any other studies? Would you care to do some real investigative journalism rather than saying baseless 1,000 times? Well, his claims are baseless. His claims of fraud are baseless. Okay. How about you guys go and do a little journalism, do some real journalism, but that would cost money. And of course, you don't want to go against your corporate narrative and the people that pay you and, big pharmaceutical companies, which fund pretty much everything across the board, right? Can't say anything bad about them. No, never. See, and Ted made this point that the music of the 60s and the music that he was basically reared from was all kind of stick it to the man music in one way or another. Sometimes it was stuff I didn't agree with, but we touched on like Vietnam and how everybody was lied to. And, I guess I didn't even know this. Ted said that people were questioning, his draft status, that he avoided the draft. And my remark would have been, so what? So what? In hindsight, that was the right move. We were fighting an illegitimate, unjust war. And we apparently we lost the Vietnam War on top of it. That was, basically put in the L column when we were all done. And we've been doing this endless war thing forever. And it doesn't work. It's useless. It's stupid. So Ted Nugent smartly kind of, he looks at patriotism, but he doesn't look at blind patriotism, so give him a lot of credit for that. Another part of this interview for me that was really important was when Ted was talking about how he was a human being, right? And how people at the end of their lives say, hey, Ted, can you come and talk to me? And, kind of like a bucket list or a Make-A-Wish Foundation type thing. And he does it. And he says, look, I must not be so bad, right? If people want to see me at the end of their lives. And that was powerful. The other part of this interview that was important for me was setting the record straight about Brian Howe, right? Ted Nugent worked with Brian Howe. Basically, that was a launching point for Brian Howe's career with Bad Company, a band he revitalized. And, some people just can't stand the Brian Howe era, right? I don't go in that category. I go in the category of I like the Paul Rodgers era and I liked the Brian Howe era. And Brian Howe ended up being this super arena rock vocalist. And when Brian passed away, Paul Rodgers basically said, hey, I'm fine, marking himself safe from death, right? That it wasn't him because people were saying, oh, did you hear about that guy from Bad Company? And of course, because we've got casual music fans today, people may assume or may have assumed that it was Paul Rodgers, and it wasn't. It was Brian Howe. And rather than mentioning Brian and talking about his accomplishments and how great he was for so many years, we didn't hear anything about Brian Howe. We just heard that Paul Rodgers was okay. And so I wanted to cover that with Uncle Ted, and he backed up what I said. And he apparently had a relationship with Brian Howe where he called him a lot, and they talked about, healthy living and different things that Brian could maybe do, but unfortunately, before any of that could really be implemented, Brian was gone. So I wanted to clear the air about Brian Howe a little bit. And of course, Ted Nugent, I think, which we didn't really touch on, but I mentioned it during my little back and forth with Ted, that I know that Ted Nugent helped Brian Howe form a lot of his political belief system. Because again, if there's kind of a vacuum, and this happened to me when I got out of college and I thought, hey, the world just works this liberal way, and, these people are the smart people. And then, boom, one day I heard this very pompous man on the radio at the time, and he was saying all these outrageous things. And I'm sitting there going, hey, this isn't true. What he's saying. But then it was like, at first you were angry, and then you were curious, and then after that you were like enlightened. It just, you went through this process. And so I think that's kind of what Ted Nugent's all about. I mean, you talk to him, you think, oh, this is the guy that doesn't like this group of people, right? We talked about the Joan Jett matter a bit, and that's the thing that everybody's going to key in on, that he celebrated Joan Jett's certain proclivities that Joan Jett is into, which I didn't really want to touch on that all that much. I wanted to talk about her guitar playing skills, but Ted's trying to make the case, look, I celebrated everything that you can celebrate about Joan Jett. And I think that should be done with. Just because he looks at this list and says, you're missing this person, this person, this person, this person. He talks about people who he really thinks should be on the list. I have my own. I have some of his and I have some of mine. Bottom line is the list needs some updating. You need to do it by skill. You don't need to be doing it by what gender you are or whatever. That's not as relevant as, are you any good at it? Are you good at it? And this is the world we live in today, where we have to keep doing this equity thing rather than this merit-based system that we used to kind of embrace. Now everything's about equity. Oh, we need to have this many people over here and this many people over there. So again, Ted Nugent, really great interview. Again, my pro tip for the day, if you want to talk to Ted Nugent, say nice things about Ted Nugent. Don't, stereotype Ted Nugent. And, if you don't want to talk to Ted Nugent, continue to do what you've been doing, which is bashing Ted Nugent for no other reason than you don't agree with his political views, or you don't agree with the fact that he doesn't embrace government narratives when it comes to healthcare or any topic for that matter. The government has lied to us for a very long time, people. And you don't have to agree with everything I say about music, but to ignore the fact that the government is currently lying to you about, I'd say, most things, if you're ignoring that, then you're going to be part of the problem for a very long time. But there are people coming. That's all I can tell you. There are people coming. There are people that are waking up because they've been lied to. And this goes across the board. African Americans are waking up to the fact that they've been lied to for generations, and they've been told basically to do a certain thing or to trust the government with their life from cradle to grave. And basically that goes across the board, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. So a little bit of a tangent, but in the spirit of what happened yesterday, I figured tangents are good. We'll continue to do them. Some people like the rants. Some people like the tangents. I want to thank people again for watching yesterday's video. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications for new videos. And Patreon, you want to support the channel for $1 a month, $2 a month. This is why I'm able to get Uncle Ted on here. And who knows who else might be coming, people. Might have a big announcement at some point, but not yet. But we'll let you know a little bit. We like to keep things kind of close to the vest, but we'll when we get a little bit closer, we'll talk more about that.